What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about what Days Gone 2 could have been. And I get that there's a lot of other people talking about this. It was kind of the hot story of Sunday. You know, David Jaffe interviewed Jeff Ross, which is an amazing, I said this in yesterday's video too, an amazing interview. I think it's really, really good. Really cool to see, you know, two guys that maybe don't agree with them on everything, but, you know, they've been there and they were in very high positions, right? And so it's just kind of cool, I think, to hear kind of behind the scenes stories of whether it's games, whether it was talking about Days Gone, or even just other random games and other memories and their opinion on the gaming industry. Again, you don't have to agree with them on everything because I definitely don't, but it's just cool to see kind of two veterans that have been there for quite a while, or, you know, maybe some that are still in it in other, you know, respects, talk about it, okay? But one of the biggest things besides that, okay, and besides kind of clarification on Jason Schreier's article, was Jeff Ross talked about basically what part of the pitch for Days Gone 2 was going to be, and that was going to be co-op. So there was a bit, I think, you know, how it's being worded online is kind of interesting. Somebody asked him about co-op, okay, and he talked, somebody asked, like, could you ever have envisioned co-op in Days Gone? And he said, like, funny you mentioned, right, because Days Gone, they originally wanted co-op in the first game, and that was something that they had to just, you know, you have this long list of ideas when you pitch a game, and then you just have to, you know, you're not going to get everything that you want. And so that was something that they, I would say, probably pretty early dropped, but it's something that early on they wanted to do. And so they kind of kept that around, and that was in their pitch for Days Gone 2. Now, you know, he doesn't really say anything else besides that. He talks about how it would be fun to see how you and other players would handle like a horde, and how maybe even big the horde would be if you're you know, playing with multiple people. And it sounds like a thing. I don't know if it's like State of Decay exactly, but he did kind of describe it as you're building settlements, you're building camps, whatever way you want to look at it. So you're building like a group of people, like a little, I mean, I would imagine NPCs. But then you have other people in that world. So it's like a shareable world where you're doing stuff, you're building things up, somebody else is there, they're building stuff up. So you're trying to build up population, you're trying to build up the world, and then you have to deal with, you know, combined threats. And I guess you have to work with other, I guess you don't have to, but it would probably be in your best, you know, the best way of handling things for you to work with other people, okay? So that's what it sounded like. And, you know, that's really all he really went into detail with. He didn't talk about any other pitches when it came to, you know, what Days Gone 2 could be. He, you know, if you believe the article, obviously Days Gone 2 was, you know, rejected in terms of the pitch. I wonder, he didn't say anything about this, by the way, so this is just speculation. I wonder, like, if that was something that they looked at and were like, or maybe that was something that they thought was a positive, but the rest they didn't like. You know, however they went about it, I don't know. He also said that it wouldn't have had an impact on the story, so it basically would have been a secondary, like a multiplayer. He said secondary mode, I think was the term he used, but like a multiplayer, just like I guess actually literally a second mode. Like you open up the main menu, there's like new story, right? You play like the actual campaign, and there's like a multiplayer element, right? And I think that works because I think, you know, a game like that, really any of Sony's, really any of their exclusives, I would prefer that you leave them apart. I actually do like that about The Last of Us, about Uncharted. Okay, those ones are different because they're more like team battles, right? They're more like team deathmatch and last man standing and stuff like that. If you did like a Horizon co-op thing, which rumor is they possibly could, if you do that, I would actually prefer that to be separate. I don't really want that impeding on the main story. I get games like even Gotham Knights, which I know a lot of people on my channel are obviously into. I get why that's something that people would like, but you have to make sacrifices if you're going to do something like that. So for, again, like a Days Gone or Horizon, would you want the strongest element of it, which is really the story and the characters and that growth and that open world that's really yours and yours alone? Do you want to sacrifice that? And you wouldn't have that if you did a co-op, right? And that was actually the main purpose of the game. It's a lot harder, I would say, to do a co-op story game in terms of like an open world game than it would be to do a single player or like a single, you know, character. So that's something to keep in mind. I'm not saying like I'm so against the idea, because I'm not. I actually love the fact that he made it very clear that, hey, the single player, the story, like Deacon, all that stuff, that's our main stuff. We're good at it. You know, that's the thing that people liked most about the game. We wouldn't get rid of it. It would just be a secondary thing. So, you know, I like that idea. I really do. I think that whenever you can logically, like this, expand it, and it makes sense to do something like this, right? Again, not to just kind of throw it in there just to do it, but to say, hey, we always had this idea of like, how about we have multiple people, growing civilizations, growing factions, all that stuff, and there's a combined threat that they have to take out. And, we can do that, but again, it wouldn't touch upon the main story. So, this whole weekend, and this is a kind of a tangent, but this whole weekend has been sad because, as I've said, I never loved or adored Days Gone. I really liked it. I myself have not played the entire thing. I've seen the ending. I know the ending. I know the game gets better as you go. And even from what I've played, which is I would say a solid amount of the game, as I did enjoy it. I definitely did enjoy it. It's one of my gaming sins, much like how up until 2 weeks ago I never beat Persona 5. Now that's fixed. Death Stranding, I haven't finished Death Stranding. Witcher, I've only played 10-15 hours of The Witcher. So I have a couple major gaming sins of games that I adore and I know other people adore, but I haven't beaten them myself, right? Which kind of stuff. Witcher, I don't know the ending, all that kind of stuff. I've actually stayed completely in the dark with that. So one day I'll get there. But for Days Gone, it's a little bit different, but it's such a respect for that game. And I really hate the fact that Days Gone 2 isn't happening. And then when you hear this stuff, it was, I watched the interview. It was kind of a 2-minute section of, he had him on for 3 hours. David Jaffe had Jeff Ross on for 3 hours, and he interviewed him, and then he had fan questions. And it was really a 2-minute conversation talking about this co-op, but obviously it makes everybody takes it, and then that's the headline of everything, including me, right? That's what this video was about. But it's cool to see what the game could have been. I really do. I pray that the game will one day happen. I don't think it's the game they're working on currently, which definitely sucks, and I don't agree with that whatsoever. But maybe they can do that game, and then they can pick up Days Gone 2 afterwards. But it's just it's a love-hate kind of thing because I love hearing it. Because it's just cool additional info, but then you kind of hate it, or it's kind of saddening. It's it literally is a what could have been situation. Days Gone really was a fundamentally, it built the groundwork for everything else, which I remember, you can go back literally 2 years ago in videos, I said that. I said there's a lot of weaknesses, there's a lot of bad things with Days Gone, but the biggest strength, and you got to give them credit because they've never done a game like this before at all. They've never done even something remotely close to it. And it's the first game. It's literally the freshman game of their career doing this game. You set the groundwork, and then the next game, you focus on the positives, you add things that people have talked about, right? And what's funny is I literally said that 2 years ago. Jeff Ross said that in the interview. He literally said, it was the groundwork. It's something that in the next game, you would double down on things that worked, right? You would kind of refine stuff. I mean, he literally repeated it, and he agrees, it's rough around the edges, and there are problems with Days Gone, but it's the first game, and it really can only get better from the first game. And he didn't say this part, I'll say this part, doesn't even seem like Sony would like to give them the chance to, I would say, easily make a much, much better sequel. It would be so much better than the first game, and I think it would sell a lot more. But again, I get that it's costly. So, it's I get that's a little bit off topic, but it basically comes down to what could have been. This game had legs, they were working on it, all this stuff, the co-op stuff, basically could have made it. Now, I was going to say could make it a very different game, because you look at some of the open world games, Horizon and even Days Gone specifically, both open world games, both first of their franchise. Horizon may also have a multiplayer element, so I was going to say if Days Gone did a multiplayer thing, they could really transform that game into not only a really fun, different, open-world zombie, motorcycle game, but also have, a multiplayer co-op, which it would be different than a lot of the Sony exclusives, right? Maybe Horizon actually does some of the similar stuff, but again, I really hope Days Gone 2 can one day happen. That's one of the driving points I always want to make in these videos. So let me know, guys, in the comments below, what do you think? Do you think co-op would have worked with this game? Is there any other things? Maybe I can do that if you guys want me to. I'd love to talk about, what Days Gone 2, could have added if they made one, stuff like that. I think I actually made some of those videos back a couple of years ago. I feel like they're more important to talk about now too. So let me know what you guys think. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed. Make sure you guys have the bell icon turned on so all these videos go up. And if you guys want to sub to my second channel, I do have a second channel. It's called Podcast Now Plus. I'll leave a link for it in the description below. I do a daily video over there. So again, if you want to subscribe to that channel, that would mean a lot to me as well. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope to see you all on the next video.